Howdy.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it
After a
going,
3-week
everybody?
hiatus, we're back.
Well, extended vacation is all.
Yeah, season 2.
Oh yeah.
We're like 90 Day Fiance. We take 1 week off. We're back for another season.
All right. So I'm Phil.
I'm Sean.
I'm Jose.
And I'm Caleb.
All right. So let's go run around the horn about what everybody's playing these days. Sean, what are you into right now?
No surprise, Genshin, but also I've been playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is it the Cowabunga collection? I can't recall the name, but
It is.
I've been playing a little bit of that. Not familiar with any of the games. Did not grow up with any of these, so it's a learning experience for me.
It's a hard knock learning experience.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you? Are you playing anything these days?
Wait, did you say for me or Jose?
Yeah, Caleb.
Oh, my bad.
No, that's all right.
I played Stray for the first time yesterday.
Nice. What are your thoughts?
So this is why I don't like modern video games. Right around PlayStation 2, they started revamping all games so that it like spells out everything for you. Okay, you get right here, you click triangle. You get right here, you click X. You do this. And I don't like that. That's one of the reasons I stopped playing video games. And it happened right around PS2. And then after that, so many games just kept that model. And to me, it's boring. Like I was attracted to old school PS1. Like I'll use Tomb Raider as an example where you didn't know what you had to do. You could end up at the top of a mountain or like on some cliff and die. And like that's just how you learned. You know, there was this whole universe in a way. Not exactly GTA, because GTA, of course, was its own masterpiece. But I don't know. Stray, it was cute. It had a nice little. I only played maybe like a half hour, but it was, you know, it's E for everyone.
It sure is. Yeah, that's the complete opposite end of the spectrum of some of those earlier Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games in the Cowabunga collection. Which I'm also playing a lot these days. I had the pleasure of, I did grow up with these games. They mean a lot to me. Some of them are awful. Some of them are amazing. One of the amazing ones was TMNT Arcade, and I had the pleasure of playing through that with my kids, 4-player, on just beating that game. And like, it's just amazing how many quarters it took. I think I actually beat that game in the arcade where whenever you die, you just pop in another quarter. You get to continue where you were. These are just quarter-hungry monsters. So I probably had to do about 75 virtual quarters just to beat it this weekend. But it was well worth the pretend money. I'm glad I did it. But Jose, you're downloading something new.
That is true because, of course, you know, we are the tastemaker that is Phil and the gang convincing me to download Multiverses, the Warner Brother fighting game. So I had finished downloading before I went to sleep last night. So excited, looking forward to. I'm trying to imagine some sort of Bugs Bunny versus Shaggy kind of, you know, fight sequence there. So that'll be really interesting, and I will update you as I go through my first week of that. Any sort of tips, guys, on like learning curve on like, you know, the character strengths or just, you know, best strategy at all for this? Or
I'd say step one is log in every day just because they give you a reward. It's one of those games that just really is thirsty for your attention. So if you at least log in, they'll give you something that you can use eventually. I'm a big fan of both Iron Giant and Tasmanian Devil. They're way overpowered. They're just really cheesy characters where you can use the same move over and over again and succeed against people online. So when you're starting out, those are good characters to use. It's also a really good time to start playing because they added a few new characters, including Rick from Rick and Morty, and then a couple others. You also have Stripe from Gremlins coming soon, and Black Adam to tie in with the movie upcoming.
of course,
So
can't have The Rock not show up in this universe, Phil.
But Sean, do you have an idea for some multiverses characters? What are those?
Well, I was just looking at the Warner Brothers library, and they actually own some anime stuff. So I was thinking, they own JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Why can I not have Joseph Joestar beat up Velma? This seems like you're going to get the best of both worlds. You know, you're going to get all the fans of the classic, the 90s stuff in there, and then you can get some of the fans of the classic, modern classic anime, you know?
Speaking of Velma, that's a next level character in Multiverses. She hurts people with her words. Her words come physically on screen and go out and hurt people, which is very fascinating to me. Also,
It's a lot like middle school.
Yeah, another character that I don't really understand. I don't even know what his name is. He's the dog from Steven Universe, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what he is. He transforms into different things. I don't know how to do
I
it.
think
Just doing and button mashing, but yeah, I don't know what anything
Phil,
is.
I think that's Jake from the Adventure Time universe.
Oh,
Do you know
yeah,
if he
you're right.
kind of is like a brownish color?
Definitely.
Excuse me. That was his power in the TV show. Was he's a shapeshifter, a stretcher, kind of is like what's his name, Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's sort of his superpower, I guess, for this game.
Yeah, so there's a lot to enjoy with that one. I like it because it's multi-platform crossplay. You can be on your PS5 playing against someone on an Xbox One, and there's no real barriers. It's a free game. Doesn't really hound you for money too bad lately, but I bet it will as we go on. But Sean, you mentioned some anime. What's your latest experience in the anime world? Have you had anything for us to check out?
Okay, we'll throw this out there. Spy X Family, I finally finished it. It's been out for months now. I've read the manga. I'm into it already, so it's kind of cheap to say. To review, I reviewed it. Yeah, he kind of abuses her a little bit. It's okay. This is a really good anime. I think it's a really good beginner anime too, because it's not necessarily too in the weeds with this kind of the anime stuff. It's about a spy, and he needs to infiltrate this group in order to preserve peace. It's basically East and West Germany during the Cold War. So he needs to create a fake family in order to get close to this guy. So he picks up this little girl. Her name's Anya, and she's amazing. She's a telekinetic, so she knows that he's a spy, but she's not going to tell anyone. And then he needs to get a fake wife, and he ends up getting this fake wife who is a woman who needs a husband, basically, so that they don't think she's a spy, but she's also an assassin. So the little girl knows that she's an assassin, knows that he's a spy, but they're not telling each other what they actually are because, of course, they're trying to hide it. And then it's just all these like weird misadventures. She goes to school and is trying to go up the ranks in this school, but she's kind of stupid. So he's constant. I mean, she's not stupid, but she's always getting into trouble. So he's constantly like going in as a spy and like disguising himself to try and get her better grades or to steal test answers. And it's a ton of fun. It's got Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of vibes, sort of. Is
it silly?
It's very, very silly. It is almost to the point of ridiculous at some areas, but then there are some other areas that are really touching because it's this fake family and they're all like trying to maintain this facade just for their own benefit, but at the same time starting to kind of grow to love each other. So it's a really good show. It's well worth watching even if you're not into anime. It's a lot of fun.
Now, is that on Crunchyroll or where else do you find it?
It is on Crunchyroll.
Everything is, right?
Everything is.
Everything but the anime I watch, which is Castlevania and Castlevania.
Well, if
you
want
watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
No, I watched a little of Jujutsu Kaisen at Sean's request on HBO Max, and I liked the first episode. It's one of those that I'm going to watch more of eventually, but it's just behind like 400 other things that I'm going to see.
Well, I was going to say, while we're on Netflix anime, I can quickly throw out, because we've all talked about Tekken before, there is a Tekken anime called Tekken Bloodlines sitting on Netflix now, and it's not that bad.
All right.
It's not great. I didn't understand the story. I needed my girlfriend to explain the whole backstory of Tekken. But it was I enjoyed it. It's only 6 episodes, and I think it just covers the story of the first game. But it got me into playing Tekken 7 again. That's another game I ended up disappearing into for a while.
I'm a big fan of fighting game lore, just because it's always ridiculous, you know. So I'm going to be I might have to give that a shot. Anybody else having any TV recommendations before I throw it out? I just want to say Hard Knocks is solid. If you like Hard Knocks, this is a season to check out. Really good. It's on the Detroit Lions. Best part of every episode is the tease that the Arizona Cardinals, my favorite team, will be the focus of the midseason starting in November. Also, one more quickie is that 90-day Fiance Happily Ever After first episode just dropped Sunday. Looks like it's going to be a great season. I was very tired of the previous season, so it's good to have something new in that respect.
Phil, for someone who hasn't seen this Hard Knocks season, does it feel like the Dan Campbell show? You feel like he was such the most interesting character heading into the season if you're a Lions fan.
Yeah, and it makes you fall in love with certain players who are probably going to get cut, so it'll devastate you when that happens. I watched the end of the Lions preseason game, which I never would have seen otherwise, yesterday, and I was just seeing some players that I like perform really badly. I'm like, uh-oh, cut day is coming for you guys. It's going to hurt real bad, because that's really what Hard Knocks is all about, is making you fall in love with these characters, these people, and watching them go for their dreams, and then just watching it being taken away from them as they have to hand their playbooks over to the coach. But yeah, he's a great character. He's like a WWE guy. He could easily be in multiverses. I want to see Dan Campbell in there. Hopefully HBO's got his likeness rights to do that. But what are you watching these days, Jose?
I finished one Amazon series and I'm about to finish another, and would love your guys' thoughts. I think Sean mentioned the second season. So the first one was James May in Japan. If you remember, James May of Top Gear fame for a lot of us was our first entry with his style of, presenting TV shows. It's because I have visiting Japan on my bucket list of destinations I'd like to go to one day. It was just a very tongue-in-cheek, feels like very down-to-earth presentation of what Japan sometimes it's a clash of modern and the ancient, which is something you want to get to know a little more. So definitely a great, bit of travel documentary watching that's light and very informative if you want to watch that. The other, I don't know if we have soccer fans in the WarpZone club, where Amazon has the series that's All or Nothing, following the biggest clubs in the world. They just wrapped up the season where it's my favorite English Premier League club, Arsenal. The fact that it seems like Amazon's getting this access where a lot of it, I will say this with a grain of salt, where you feel like they do get close access to a lot of the behind the scenes locker room and the executives room talk. I think they know when the camera's on, so they might filter everything they say through that. I think they get as many candid moments as they can, but it's always just interesting to feel like you get to know, if it's a sports franchise, when you have a particular affinity for that you care more about than others. It's always just interesting to feel like you can connect and feel like you're investing a little further in the team's identity and how you feel about it. So I just thought those were really two interesting options on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah, those All or Nothings are fantastic series. I've watched almost all of them. The NFL, they've had a bunch of them, including one on Cardinals in 2016. But I have also seen I'm a big soccer fan like you, Jose. Saw the Tottenham one, Man City one. I was lucky enough to be in London a week ago, and the Arsenal series is on every bus, it's everywhere. I haven't started that yet, but it looks so good. And they're having such a great year too. What a year to be an Arsenal fan.
It's such a weird contrast, Phil, where if you see this season, it's the season just before they're going on this tear right now to start the Premier League. So it's sort of like a tale of two seasons or two halves in a year.
They are just devastating other teams. They won 9-0 over the weekend. It's just they're changing the game of the EPL right now. It's fascinating to see. What are you watching, Caleb?
So I'm one of the snots who subscribed to YouTube just so I could minimize it and keep listening to audio. And I don't subscribe to Netflix or any of the other ones or nothing else. The only thing that I'll do every now and then is watch like the YouTube videos, which I got to give a shout out to YouTube. They've been getting some pretty good films on there, and it only stays, I don't know, for maybe like 100 days or so, and then it swaps out every, I don't know, every couple months. But I'll admit, YouTube, since we're on here, YouTube could step up their TV game or their TV episode game. There's not really. I scrolled through all the shows, and I was like, yeah, I don't feel like clicking on any of these.
But YouTube did originate Cobra Kai, which is going to be on Netflix.
Yeah.
Moved to Netflix, coming out real soon. So good things can come from there.
Exactly.
Sean, you made some Blu-ray purchases recently. Let's hear about them, man. I want to hear about your Blu-ray purchases.
Oh, everyone loves when I talk about buying these movies because I have a stupid collection of just inane nonsense. You know, like I said, I bought the triple pack of Escape Plan films because they made a second and third one for some reason. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Escape Plan, where Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger break out of a prison together. It's not a bad movie. I think it was slept on. As an action movie, you know, it's bad, but it's fun, and what more could you want? So I'm looking forward to seeing the sequel starring Dave Bautista and 50 Cent. Straight to DVD, you know, as it should be.
And
but
Stallone's in all three, correct?
It was a desperate time for Stallone.
Does he keep escaping every movie? Does he keep getting trapped again?
I guess the second one. I guess the second one they're breaking out of a prison, and then the third one they just like scrap together a script to make a third one for like $100. So we'll see how this goes.
Sounds like the Expendables 2 and on.
Yeah, and hey, 50 Cent's going to be in the next Expendables movie, so it worked out for him.
Friends making sure they're hired on their new projects, guys.
Yeah, and apparently 50 Cent plays a mastermind hacker in the Escape Plan, and people from the reviews I was seeing were not too convinced. So we'll see how that goes.
What?
But the other purchase I made, a big purchase, because I like my fancy DVD sets. I got the Shawscope Collection Volume 1 from Arrow Video. If I'd known I was going to talk about it, I would have brought in the box because it's like this big, has the beautiful Shaw Brothers logo on there. It's fantastic. I've only watched one movie on it right now, King Boxer, which I think is called like Five Fingers of Death in the U.S. But the transfer is so crystal clear, and it's just so much. It's so nice to have these really bad 70s. They're not bad. They're classics. I mean, the Five Fingers of Death inspired Quentin Tarantino, inspired like half of Kill Bill. But it's so nice to have somebody giving some love and care to these movies that otherwise were like relegated to $5 DVD sets back in the day, or thrown on like some random channel 245. So it's such a good set from what I've seen so far. It comes with a booklet with the history of Shaw Brothers, comes with CDs containing the music from some of the movies. I'm looking forward to just binging all 12 movies.
It seems like Arrow is the new Criterion. It seems like they're out Criterioning Criterion.
Arrow's doing a lot of good. There are a couple of these companies because Criterion has their little niche. Arrow is kind of jumping into some of the more the weirder stuff. Maybe Criterion has been releasing a lot of kung fu every year now. They've had Police Story that they released on Blu-ray. They did all the Bruce Lee movies. Last year they did Once Upon a Time in China collection, and this year they're doing Infernal Affairs, which inspired The Departed. So they're getting in on that because there is a huge market for these kind of movies. There are a lot of people who like this stuff.
Yeah.
But Shout Select too is another one, which they're not quite as prominent, but they've been releasing like the Sonny Chiba movies, and so everyone's kind of getting a piece of the pie here, trying to release all these.
Yeah. My gripe against Arrow and Criterion and Shout Select are, for whatever reason, they cannot include digital copies for the life of them in anything that they sell. I don't know why. I don't know why they can't just throw that in too, because that would be the one clincher that would get me to buy something. Like, I need to own it, everything, all formats. I know you're a complete physical guy, which is very rare in this day and age, Sean. I'm a complete digital guy almost, but not averse to having like a beautiful box set just to show my love of a particular movie or series.
And Criterion, to their credit, has the Criterion channel, which is great. And honestly, it's probably worth it if you're into this stuff, because you pay $100 for the year, and you're not paying. I mean, $100 for the year is 5 DVDs during the sale, because these, of course, are like such pricey movies, pricey sets for no apparent reason, because they have the 2 sales, July, November, like clockwork. Criterion sale, everything's 50% off. Everyone buy. I am assuming their sales tank. Those 2 months are where they make most of their money. So I don't know why the movies just aren't consistently sold at that price.
Create demand, Sean. So you got to make sure there's the market for it. Apparently,
I guess so, but I do agree that they need to have some more digital. Arrow, I don't know if they have a streaming service either. I don't think so, but I totally agree. They need to get on that, because these are for physical movie owners who really want to like show off their collection. But for other people who may not be into that, but there are certain titles that they really want, like, Police Story on Criterion, it kind of isn't fair to them, because why would they want to pay $40, $50 for this set when you just want to watch it on digital?
So, Sean, I know we're getting close to the wrap-up point. I know that Everything Everywhere All at Once is one of your favorite movies of the year, maybe your favorite. I had very high expectations going into this. I liked the movie, but it's not going to end up anywhere near on my top list because I have some gripes with it. For one thing, the hot dog finger universe just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think humans that had hot dog fingers would ever be able to invent anything. Don't care how good they are at playing piano with their toes. The other thing, it's like maybe it's a little cuter than I expected. Maybe it's a little more tongue-in-cheek. I kind of expected something that was going to hit me on an emotional level. And the Rock universe too. I don't like how the Rocks can talk to each other. I don't think rocks have brains. I guess I'm not an animist enough for that type of stuff. Have either of you guys seen that, or is it just me and Sean have seen that?
I think it's just you two, but you describing this, Phil, I'm just like, well, this just makes it that much loonier as a premise, where I feel like I'd heard the part about the hot dog fingers, but if you're describing how the rocks interact with each other, I'm just like, this just feels like an experience to say you have to watch.
They don't talk to each other. They just have googly eyes, stare at each other, and then there are like subtitles over the top. And when I saw it in the theater, it was amazing how into the movie everyone was, to the point where they weren't talking through this completely silent portion where 2 rocks were like with subtitles.
Wait, I'm picturing, does this become like an old, showdown, standoff in Western movies where you do these quick cuts between googly eyes to googly eyes? Is that, or not quite?
No, it's just 2 rocks sitting on a cliff, and it's just like wide shots, and it's you have to suspend your disbelief. It is very dumb.
I don't know why I would have secretly hoped for that sort of Mexican standoff, quick cuts in westerns between 2 rocks with googly eyes.
To Phil's point, it is very silly, and I think it handles it so well, where it can go back and forth between those emotional, like, family moments, which is the core of the movie, and those really ridiculous moments. But I can see where that might be an issue for some people. My one issue with the movie, and I'm sure you probably agree with this, Phil, just given that you said you could cut out the hot dog, it's too long. If they shaved 20 minutes off this movie, it would have been so much better. But it just kind of, the third act kind of drags because there's just too much going on.
Yeah, but great fighting scenes in the movie, like excellent fighting scenes.
We can't talk about the one. This
really
is
good
show.
A fighting scene that was almost as good as the one in Dumb and Dumber. Fantasy.
Apparently Jackie Chan was the original person they wanted for this role, but I don't know if he read the script and saw the fight scene that he would have to do or what, but he didn't want it. But this was great for Michelle Yeoh. Like, this is definitely gonna. She was in James Bond. She had a little moment there. a couple Jackie Chan movies where she was kind of breaking into the American scene. This definitely.
Yeah, Oscar nomination lock, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Here, before we wrap it up completely, can we address the most important news of yesterday?
I'm sure some people would agree, so walk us through it. Walk us through it.
Okay, so as y'all know, Britney Spears' conservatorship has ended in like the last month, and apparently what she released was this video or this audio. She tweeted it and then she put the link to it, and it was like a 20-minute audio thing of her talking about why she is on this journey now and how she's healing and what became of it. And specifically, she was saying, she's like, I'm sharing this because I want people to know I'm human. I do feel victimized after these experiences, and how can I mend this if I don't talk about it? So I this entire time I've been thinking, like, is this a PR move? Like, what's really going on with Britney? Like, I did believe that she was in a conservatorship because, you know, that's legal. There's documentation of it. But even now, I'm like, the part of me thinks, okay, here's a woman who's been spoiled, more than spoiled, her entire life. And I mean, teens everywhere, not just teens, but most people who are on platforms like Instagram and all that, you know, they want the likes. They do it for the likes, whether it's TikTok or whatever they're doing it for the reposts, for the shares, for all the views. And a piece of me thinks that, you know, this is all she's ever known, and she's starved for attention, just because when you've been raised and, you know, you were on the talent show, and then you were in the Disney Clubhouse, and then you were sexually exploited on like Rolling Stone magazine and all these different places as a teenager, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're, I don't know, 40 now, and, you know, the control's in your hands, but you've never steered the wheel. So you're like, what do? I guess I'll just pose topless. I guess I'll just... And what are your guys' thoughts before we wrap it up?
I mean, I think everything Britney's done post-conservatorship proves that maybe the conservatorship was justified. It's kind of sad. It's kind of a train wreck, and I don't know where it's going to end here.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't want to mix up artists, where I think just after the conservatorship was lifted, she wanted to, you know, I guess formally marry the boyfriend she was seeing, and I guess that changes some arrangements custody-wise with her kids. It's sort of like you I don't know how we feel about that, Phil, where it's like you want her to exercise her independence, but how disciplined is she about actually exercising it for her own benefit? And perhaps to Caleb's point, it's now the narrative is in her hands, or you'd think it would be. So how is she going to handle that, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of frightening to see. You had that Kevin Federline video from a couple weeks ago dropping about how she might, her parenting techniques. It's just like the more I see into Britney's private life, the more I don't want to see. Even though it is fascinating, and I, like everyone else, I won't stop looking.
So you still want to wish her the best, but it's sort of like maybe less attention in this case, or you know, and she can obviously set a platform where she can. I don't know if she plans to, you know. This is Caleb is where it becomes like, do I do the sit down documentary, or do I do the long form interview with Oprah? Do I put out an all tell memoir, spilling every juicy little detail about all this? So it's like, I guess you can monetize this if you want. It's just a matter of, you know, how genuine are you in trying to learn.
Allegedly, she said in the audio that Oprah and all these people offered her deals, but she said, no, I don't. I just want to speak my piece and and heal from it rather than make money off it.
Maybe she'd rather control the content and keep it on her account on Instagram. Who knows?
The narrative, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Phil, can you wrap us up?
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. For Warp Zone, we'll be back next week.
See you then, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.